Well, welcome you guys to the Identity and Web3 podcast. My name is Hawa Kamara. My pronouns are she, her. I am the social media manager for Spatial, of course, as you guys know, and I'm also a community leader and a curator. I'm so happy to have you guys here. I definitely want to just go down the line and you all can introduce yourselves. So, Cristian, you first.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. My name is Cristian Andres. I am the executive director of the Meeting Place, which is where the amazing Open Hearts exhibition is being hosted on Spatial. And I'm really interested in building the Meeting Place into a safe space in the Metaverse for queer people and those who have that identity. And so kind of creating an identity for the space is something that I'm really interested in doing. Yeah.
Love. It's kind of interesting, like we talk about identity a lot in terms of art, but like not so much in the sense of an environment, which is very much so a thing. So
absolutely,
love that. Benny.
Thanks for having me, Ella. I'm Benny Orr. I'm an artist, creative director, also co-creator of the Meeting Place, which, as Cristian described, we're kind of building towards kind of creating this safe environment in the Metaverse for all of us. But I'm also the newest creative director of a new Metaverse company called Zero, which is super exciting.
If you guys don't know about Zero, you're gonna know about it soon because it's major.
Zero.xyz.
And I can't believe like you guys got Zero. Like it's so iconic. I love. Okay, Laurel.
Hi, my name's Laurel. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. I am a artist and curator, just curated Super Trans on Super Rare, which is, to my knowledge, the first... Yes! Which is, like, to my knowledge, the first in-person and digital exhibition of all transgender artists. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely,
Major.
Taking up space.
Yes, powerfully.
Take up all of it.
And that's what, so as an artist, I'm a makeup artist, and my goal as an artist is to bring makeup into the Metaverse and show what that can look like and explore those possibilities. But as a curator, my goal is to, get equity for transgender, non-conforming, and non-binary people in these spaces. We were able to go to NASDAQ. Our whole exhibition was shown all throughout the NASDAQ, home to the American Stock Exchange, and got their art on the billboards outside in Times Square as well, which was really cool.
That is like amazing. Like at such a high level, like you're doing the work, and it's really important. So I want to give you the snaps for that.
Yes.
Thank you. So
really,
happy to be
really
here.
important. Yes. And just phenomenal makeup. It's so funny how I met you because it was like everyone already knew you at Spatial, and like when I joined, I was just like, oh my gosh, who is this? I love their makeup, and everyone was like, that is Laurel, and I was like, what? Like I was just obsessed, like on my own. Like I didn't even know the correlation, which is so funny. But yes, Blaise.
Hi everyone, my name is Mathew Blaise. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a non-binary LGBTQ rights activist from Lagos, Nigeria. I am also the co-founder of the Oasis Project. The Oasis Project is an LGBTQ organization in Nigeria that focuses on creating awareness about LGBTQ issues, advocating for LGBTQ rights, and also just providing safe spaces for LGBTQ people in Nigeria to have conversations around mental and sexual health. And because in Nigeria, there are up to 9 laws that criminalizes LGBTQ people, and it is important for safe spaces like that to be accessible to queer and trans people. And what I do with NFTs is to blend activism and my art together to fundraise for the already marginalized communities in Nigeria. And I am also the curator of Open Art Exhibition, which is currently hosted by the Meeting Place and on Spatial. And I'm so excited to be here having this conversation with beautiful and iconic leaders. And
yes,
very
much so iconic.
From an icon.
Can we get a mirror?
Hey, and I feel like you're being very humble. Like you guys are all being so humble. I'm like, let's be real. You guys know you're icons. Like, literally. But thank you guys so much for being here. I'm super excited. So pretty much just like a general overview. I definitely want to just dive into identity, more into like the projects that we just spoke about, kind of like the process of getting there, what your mission is, trials that you might have encountered along the way. Because, as we are building Web3, we're building something new. We've seen the problems with Web2. We don't want to recreate them. We want to have new, innovative spaces. We want it to be inclusive. We don't want to have othering and like we are the pioneers. Web3 is so new. We're first trans exhibit, you know what I mean? Like doing your Oasis project, which is really, really major, especially in West Africa. I'm West African as well, so I understand the work that you're doing is super, super, super important. So first up, I want to talk about the meeting place. Beautifully designed. I wish we could like cue to like a video of like how beautiful it is. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk to you guys about just the process of building this and more about what you were saying in terms of like identity for this space, because we do talk about digital art, but art is also 3D environments. That's art itself, you know? So I definitely want to like dive into identity with that. So if you guys want to take off with TMP.
Go for it, babe.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow.
You know, the project really started when Spatial reached out to me from a sort of art influencer capacity, right? I think Spatial was like, hey, you know, we have this gallery space. Would you be interested in curating an exhibition? And I was like, well, at that time, I didn't really know much about NFTs. I was like, I don't feel like, you know, comfortable curating something right now. But I was like very excited with the technology. I was like, I have a degree in architecture. My background is in entertainment and production design, storytelling through environments. So I was like, well, the potential of this is huge, right? Like, how do we begin to tell stories and make art out of architecture? And so that then turned into a collaboration with the French artist Cyril Lancelin. And together we created the meeting place over a span of like 4 months. And we launched in November, and since then we've hosted, you know, exhibition with Wearable, their first LGBTQIA exhibition. We've done talks from things like neuroscience to we had a Mother Teresa show.
My
Mother
queen.
Performing here.
Yep.
She's performing
Live
here
at
today,
Central.
guys. Yes.
100%.
Every single time Mother's on our live, I'm like,
So I mean, when we first thought about it, we really were just investigating architecture as an art form. You know, what can we build in the metaverse, and how is architecture going to be different than what we have today in the physical realm, right?
Right.
But in the last couple of months, I think what we really realized was that there was much more potential in it beyond just being an example of metaverse architecture. We realized that a building, like a physical building, has life, and you can give it life, you can breathe life into it by fostering the community, right? It's the people that come in that makes a building what it is.
Right.
And so over the last couple of months, we really kind of found a purpose in providing this safe space for our own community, right? Because again, you know, like you were saying, Web3 is a new world, but it's not even like a Web2, Web3 thing, it's a new reality, right? We have this opportunity right now to, you know, start from zero, pun intended. But that's the thing, right? It's like I tell people a lot of times where it's like, you know, this is all moving really fast, and the people who are going to be writing it, creating right now, are the people that are going to be choosing and defining what this world is going to be for us.
Exactly.
And if we don't recruit as many of our people, as many artists as possible, as many queer individuals, as diverse as possible, taking up space as powerfully as possible, then one day, if not, then we're going to wake up one day in like 5 years and we'll be like living in this technical world, you know, this digital universe, and feel like the other once again. And so, and on top of that, you know, queer people have always been trendsetters. We've always been pushing technology. We've always been pushing history. So, you know, it should come naturally.
Right. Very on brand, right?
Very on brand for us. But, you know, it's really about getting people online, getting people on there, educating, right, and giving space. And I also think about space in two different ways, right? There's space as in like Open Hearts, which is an open call. We kind of just, you know, offered up the space to the world and be like, come show in our home, right? And the other side is actually also curating it, right? So it's not just like, oh, we can just give spaces. We're allowing young artists to evolve and grow and have the opportunity to show the work, but at the same time, we're also showing those young artists what amazing queer art, amazing art can be. So it's a two-pronged approach where you're getting people online, but at the same time you're educating about what's out there and how you can combine those two.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, all right, the podcast is over.
Yeah.
This was some of my notes.
No, but literally, and like, I mean, I love these types of conversations because you never know what you're gonna get, and I'm learning as we're, because you know, I'm relatively like newer to this space. I would say like I mean, pretty much everyone There's some people that are like, yeah, I've been in space for like 2 years. I'm like, girl, like what? Like, it's not here. But you know, it's really important work, and it's really interesting just to see how we're interacting with these digital identities, and it's really, really important because like as we were curating Open Hearts, it's like one step of identity and also taking action. And I literally just want to like kind of segue into your Oasis project and just kind of how important even the Queer Nigerian Emergency Fund, like it's crazy how these worlds are merging. Like you have TNP and look what is coming out of that. You know what I mean? So I definitely want to hand the mic to you, Blaise, and just talk to us more about your project, your mission. This is your first time in New York, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally like during Pride, which is like, I'm literally so happy for you that you're able to experience this. So I definitely just want you to talk more about your mission and your goals.
Thank you so much, Awa, and I'm so glad to be here. I'll just go into it. I think we forget easily how much the metaverse is a reflection of our real world, and how the consequences of the metaverse also can be reflected in the real world. What happens on the metaverse can be reflected in the real world, and what happens in the real world can be reflected in the metaverse. So it is actually very, very important for us to realize this, that the metaverse is not a utopia. And if we don't create an enabling environment where people are safe physically, we will get the whole reflection in Web3. We talk about sexual violence, we talk about homophobia, we talk about transphobia, and we've seen how they play out in Web3 spaces, how women are sexually harassed in Web3, how queer people don't feel safe in Web3. And the original idea was actually to live in a safe space where we don't have to bother about these issues, but now we have to deal with all of them in Web3. So it tells us that there is a big problem that we have to deal with in the real world. We have to tackle state and non-state sanctioned violence towards queer people. And ways of doing that would be by creating more awareness about it in Web3 and getting as much resources as we can from that space into the real world to help people who are actually dying on the streets.
Right.
It's not about PFPs. It's not about having living behind unknown accounts, amassing so much wealth and thinking you are the top of it all. It's not about that. People are actually dying every day in the streets. So what Oasis Project is trying to do is, what we are actually doing is to help as much people as we can who are dealing with these issues, who have no access to safe spaces. I've been to America for over, I've been here for over a month now, and I feel safe, kinda, yeah. I mean,
Kinda.
I can be what I want to be.
But you're comparing to Nigeria.
I can have fun, and but in Nigeria I can, but it comes with a lot of consequences.
Yeah.
It comes with my physical safety. I can be killed at any time for that. It just comes with a lot of mental crisis, physical instability, and you just don't know where your death is coming from. Unlike being here and you're able to do these things.
Right.
So it tells us that there's still so much violence that people experience in the world, and Web3 has the potential of saving a lot of people in the real world.
Absolutely.
So yes, we pull up, what I do is to pull up resources from Web3 and push them into the community directly. We get food, we get hormonal therapy, we help people who are in need of our help.
Right.
because people are in need.
Right. But
Absolutely.
it's really
Yeah.
interesting what you're saying because it's kind of like a reflection of what Benny was saying too. Like, this is a new reality and it is going to reflect real life and real life is going to reflect in Web3. So yeah, there is a need for TMP. There is a need for these safe spaces. There is a need for pooling resources and actually using NFTs with real utility. And that's something I want to talk about too, because I feel like there is like, I mean, we're all in the space, so we kind of have like this general understanding, but like on a large scheme, like a lot of people don't really truly understand this yet. We're still really early, but there can be really real utility with NFTs, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what you're doing. You're using it as a tool to then reflect in real life, which is actually, I feel like personally, is like the most impactful thing you can do with NFTs. Like, let it reflect both in Web3 and in real life. Like, we're here together. Like, I met you guys, like, in TMP and on Spatial and, like, just in Web3. And, like, now I'm here talking to you guys about real things and real life things in real life. You know what I mean? So that's the best part about Web3. So
And the relationships
But-
that you build in the virtual world are real relationships.
they're
Yeah.
real relationships.
Yeah.
These are real people. You know what I mean?
But I think it's also important to recognize that you are doing the work. Like,
Yeah.
you are actually doing the work. And I think there's so much noise in this space, right? There's so many people talking. And with TMP, we want to lift up those voices of the people who are doing the work, who are actually showing up for their communities. And I think that's taking it to the next level and actually lifting up the right voices, right? The people who are
Right.
driving that impact and using Web3 in the right way. Because I think people are a little nervous and scared of Metaverse and Web3 and what it all means. And the more we can provide that identity to it and use it as a tool to help real life problems, I think the more that people will feel more comfortable using the technology.
Because you feel more comfortable when you can see yourself. And that's like the problem with representation. Whatever marginalized community it is, you don't see yourself in digital ways. You don't see yourself in real life. You don't feel respected. You don't feel seen. So when you create that connection, then you feel comfortable. You can come in. You can be yourself because it's not really. You can polarize your identity to your sexuality or your race, but like in reality, like everyone is like a wholesome being. There's a lot of things that make someone who they are, you know?
Absolutely.
So I feel like when you create those safe spaces, it just allows for you to be that. Be yourself.
Yeah.
And like that's what the whole identity in Web3, like that's why I wanted to name this podcast that, because it's literally about your identity and being comfortable being whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm super excited about Open Hearts, you guys. So make sure you guys get on Explore tab on Spatial. I'm going to show for a second because it is up and it's 10 beautiful artists. 11 now. Yes, we added one more. 11 beautiful artists, beautiful work in a beautiful space. I'm just so excited about it. And we're going to be hosting activations in that very, very soon with the beautiful Blaise to raise money for the Nigerian Queer Fund. Like, again, empowering queer artists, showing work, having that identity, but then real world action. Like, there need real impact.
Yes.
Like, what are you actually doing, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you want to talk about like NFTs with utility. I mean, literally, that's kind of how I met Blaise, through like one of their first NFTs that they listed. It was after I made my first 1 ETH sale. It was listed for 0.5. Loved the self-portrait, loved the story behind it. Didn't know what was going to happen with the funds. I just bought it. And then it was like a month or two later, Blaise sends me a picture. Blaise ended up donating the money completely to this transgender safe house outside of Lagos. And it was a picture of the woman who like ran the safe house. It was a video, and she was waving, and behind were like the 8 or so trans women. They were holding up, a picture to disguise their identity. But in front were months of resources of HRT, gender hormone therapy, medical supplies, food. And I'm like, what? Like, my trans ass in Brooklyn bought someone's art with one click, and here it is. Giving resources to this trans community for months.
Incredible.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
wow.
this is it. This is it.
Yeah. Doing the work. Doing the work.
Everybody
Yeah.
yeah.
But that like changed my whole perspective on NFTs and
Like real utility.
Real
like I
utility.
think people need to understand that connection. And it's not just PFPs. Well, no shade to PFPs, but it's just like when you have real utility and you can see it reflect in real life, especially for a community that needs it, like that's actually doing the work, you know? Like, and it's not just making it about yourself. Like, are you making Web3 a better community? Are you paying it forward? Like, all those things are really, really important. So, Blaise, hats off to you.
I mean, thank you all for amplifying my work too, and thank you for buying my first NFT.
my pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, so let's move on to Laurel so we can chat with you a little bit more. I want you to just give us the tea on Super Trans. I just need to know.
Yes.
I've been like literally stalking your Twitter, like just seeing like everything you're doing from Spatial's account, and like I know literally, and from my personal account too, because I follow you now. But I just really want you to talk about the process and almost, I kind of want to turn it to a personal note too, and like how it's also changed you as well, because I kind of want to go around and like have that moment with everyone too. But I feel like we talk a lot about the work we're doing in the space, but not so much how it has reflected on our personal lives as well. So I would love for you to just talk about Super Trans, your experience, and how it's changed you and how it's changed Web3.
Yeah, wow, thank you so much. It's been a wild journey. I never thought in a million years I would be here for so many different reasons. I entered the NFT space last August. Of course, everyone is an artist so like much longer than they're an NFT artist. So I had this body of work with me, and to find out, to look around the room and be like, okay, I don't see any makeup artists here. So it was an opportunity, like you were saying earlier, to just do it and just see what it looks like, and just to kind of just like explore the possibilities there and see what happened. And then several months ago I was brought on to, or like 5 months ago I was brought on to Super Rare, and then shortly after I was approached with the opportunity to curate. They said, listen, we'll give you full creative opportunity. We would love for you to embrace your community, uplift your community, whether that's LGBT people, whatever. And to have that, for them to just like give me these resources, that's so important. I feel like that's so important. Like if you want to empower people, like give them your resources. Like just give them, give it to them and let them do what they need to do with their community. So my mind and my soul was like, trans people, like this is our chance, like this is our chance. And to talk also about how, all the issues of the real world are always going to be reflected in the metaverse. I was looking around and seeing so many people with huge platforms be so violently transphobic and proudly with their rhetoric and, just saying these bold, very harmful transphobic statements, which lead to real world consequences, right? And to look around and see like there's not that much visibility for trans people here. So I thought of making it, I wanted it to be very loud and very visible, so I chose the name Super Trans.
But I love like Super Weird Super Trans, like I loved it. I really do.
Yeah, I'm like, we're not suggesting
We're
anything.
not a little trans.
Like super, honey. Like maxing it out.
Yeah, like when I pitched that to them, I was like 99% chance they're gonna say no. But they were really supportive. And that was just the beginning, and to bring these trans people together is an honor. They are all icons in their own way, and they have all been trailblazing for themselves and for their communities for so much longer. And when I came to the space, I was looking around at like Dania Darkstone, who's the inventor of glitch art and has been trailblazing that whole field for like 10 plus years. And I'm like, oh, like why isn't she on Super Rare? Like why isn't she on this platform?
Right.
Like that's an issue to me. And I'm like looking, because I wanted to bring some artists that were already on the platform, to also give visibility and to bring their collectors and their attention to the other artists. And I'm like, how come I can only see like 4 trans people on this platform?
Yeah, like that's a problem. Yeah.
So that's a problem. That's a huge problem. That's a huge disparity. And we want to talk about equity. My love, we're not even standing a fighting chance at this point. So literally with this exhibition, we even like tripled the number of, out trans people on this app, on this marketplace, which is great, but there's still so much work to do. And it's been honestly one of the greatest pleasures of my life. They're all incredible people. We've all been supporting each other throughout this whole process. From, sashimi, these like a nail artist, and bringing this nail artist into the space. And honestly, like there was a little bit of pushback because they've never seen this. And I had to sit down and be like, listen, nail art is $1 billion industry.
Nail art is like huge. I don't think people get it.
They don't.
They don't.
And I'm like
makeup too though.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, listen, like this is a sculptural artist creating works of art on their fingertips.
Yeah.
Like
The attention to detail.
this person would be an asset for you to have because they're one of the first NFT artists to create with nails of that medium. And now they're getting booked with Comme des Garçons, and like their career's blowing up, and they're always moving that success to their trans NFT Brazilian community in Sao Paulo, which is crazy.
Yes.
It's like the only time trickle-down economics work, like with like marginalized communities, because we're like, here, like we take what we get and we give it to each other.
Right.
So it's just been so important, and this is, changed my life just in so many different ways, really.
Mm-hmm.
I was so nervous at first when it was so daunting to curate for the first time. And the previous person who did a feature, Linda Donia, who curated Black Rare for Super Rare, and, curated at the Guggenheim. And I'm like, these are huge shoes to follow. But Linda, stuck with me, was an incredible resource, really helped me out so much. Is now a full-time curator for Super Rare as well. And just seeing these spaces come up, I think is so important. And I really hope this can stay, and I hope organizations and these marketplaces can see that, visibility needs to happen all year round and not just during 1 month out of the year.
Right.
So that's my next goal, is to see how we can prolong this, increase these spaces, their frequency, who's getting to do it, and just put more power into these voices and these communities.
It's making me so sad. Because yes, and I love it, because that's why I literally wanted to ask you like how it was changing your personal life, because I don't feel like people really realize, like, coming into this new space, like, your life has changed, you're changing other people's lives, and like you get that imposter syndrome, but like this is like a mom thing. Like my mom always says, like, if you're in the room, you belong there. Like you don't have that, don't have that imposter syndrome. Like if you're in the room, that energy and that frequency, you're there, honey. So do what you need to do,
And I was talking with one of my artists from Supertrans, Sam J, and I was like, I'm a little worried, I'm a little nervous about like doing this. It's such a big project, and they're like, my love, you've been preparing for this your whole life. Like everything you've done, like you're always looking for your community. You already have like all these trans artists you've been looking at, and and you've been curating in different ways your whole life. And I was like, oh wait, you're totally right.
I can't do this.
And that's the best quote. If you're already in the room,
you belong
I love
there.
that.
You belong there. Web3 room, in real life, forever. Like, honey, if I'm there, like, I'm there. Like, and just stepping with your foot, like, your best foot forward. And I think that's really, really important. And, like, when you're talking about resources, like literally not just saying this because I'm with, like, Spatial, but, like, just they gave me the space to create this. You know what I mean? Like, they gave me the space to have another podcast later that's going to be featuring, like, all people of color. Like, you know what I mean? Like, giving resources, giving space, giving creative control. Like, you don't always have to be there. Like, I feel empowered to give you the resources to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to, like, dip my finger in it,
Right.
Like, you got it. Like,
There's not
this is
someone
your
peeking
community.
over your shoulder.
Right. This is your community. This is what you're doing, and that's the work that needs to be done. Like, you need to be interacting with your own community. So, absolutely. Let's check the time, girls, because yes, I see like Anon back here. Like, what's going on? But yes, we do have to wrap up pretty soon. I'm actually really sad, guys, because this is like really, really amazing. I feel like I've gotten to connect with you guys really, really well. Is there any like last remarks that you guys want to give in terms of just, I kind of just want to leave on like an uplifting note of like your vision for Web3 and just what you're hoping to have in this space, and just moving forward, how we can continue these conversations outside of Pride. Like, for example, Open Hearts is going to be going throughout all of July, and we're going to have activations. Hopefully, Laura, you can join us for some. Cristian, Blaise, like everyone there. But if you guys want to leave some last closing remarks, we can kind of wrap up.
I'll piggyback off Laurel. I think it's about the always on, like having the steady drumbeat of our presence be in Web3. And I think the meeting place, that's what we want to do. We want to invest the next 12 months. It's really bringing to light those voices and creating that space so that we can bring the right people in the room, to your point. Like, the people have to be in the room for them to be there, right? And so creating that openness and having that steady drumbeat throughout the whole year, I think will be what we'll be working on with the meeting place.
Yeah, and I guess to continue off of that, I think, for people that aren't really in the space yet or foreign to the technology, it can sound really daunting, right? Like the wallet, the NFTs, PFPs, it seems really confusing. But don't think about it as like this massive new world of technology that you suddenly have to like understand. Just know that there is a place on the internet that you can go to where you will always be welcome and you will always feel safe no matter where in the world you are. 100%. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to figure out all these other stuff. Like, just focus on the fact that that is what it's offering you. And I think that will make it a lot easier for you to be able to contribute, be part of it, and feel at home.
And find your place.
Yeah.
Find your place. Yeah.
I
know, guys. This was like really great. Like, we need to do this again.
Absolutely.
And also, I think one way of making Web3, very, very inclusive and diverse, would be using languages that are very, very inclusive and diverse too. Because you be on spaces and the language in which people use to communicate are very, very transphobic, homophobic, racist. And it's very, very important that if we are also trying to make the space welcoming for us, then we should be very vigilant about and conscious about the language that we use in communicating with people.
That's absolutely a fact. That is absolutely a fact, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Wow, I wish I can continue with that. But yes, Laurel, if you have any last remarks.
Yes, if there's like one thing I can end on, it would be to say that like trans people have always been at the forefront of creation and expression. It's a fact, but we just very rarely get the recognition, respect, and platforms that we deserve and that we need. If our only support comes from within the community, our progress socially and financially and economically will not happen. We need, unfortunately, allies to be loud and sometimes even louder than us. So, you know,
Absolutely.
my only advice to trans people entering the space is find your community, reach out to us, organize, let's get together, let's be loud together, and make the future we want to see.
Yes.
Strength
Amazing.
and numbers. Yay! Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Like, seriously, if you guys loved, like, this podcast was amazing, and I just can't wait to, like, be in the meeting place and just kind of, like, recreate this energy, like, this, like, between allies and just LGBTQ people, like, just creating this environment that we all want to see, and we all are doing the work. And I know it can be really, really hard, so I genuinely want to, like, just pat everyone on the back. Like, I'm so proud of all of you guys. I'm proud that I'm here, and, like, we're all doing the work, and we're going to continue to do the work, and we're going to create the Web3 that we want to see.
you.
So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you,
And this is why,
Hawa.
like, this is happening today, honey. We're getting it done.
See you in the metaverse, babes.
Come join us.
Period.